Hi, welcome to my show. Today I have a very special guest named Narendra. And Narendra was my first spiritual teacher, like I can honestly say, over 2 decades ago. Not to reveal my age, but it was that long ago. Hello, Narendra.
Hello.
I am so happy to have you here. I have not seen you for a while, but you honestly look the same. I don't know. I guess it's all these the spiritual lifestyle that you live. Um, we met in the 19 well, we knew each other for a while because you came to the business where I worked, but we started talking about spirituality in the early 1990s. And you were very generous with your time in teaching me about meditation and making suggestions towards certain books that really had an impact on my life, including Conversations with God and Daughter of Fire. I don't know if you remember that. It was a very
Yes,
long
yes,
book.
yes. I read
That
Tweety.
Yes, yes. So the teachings at that time, as I was trying to learn about myself and discover certain aspects and understand the world and life in general, um, what you offered was very, like, brought me a lot of peace. And it was my first introduction to meditation. Was you held classes at your home. You've evolved since then, so now you have, I think you have workshops and stuff different places. But I from that I ended up meeting a wonderful group of people and just learning the practice of meditation. So given this background that I just mentioned, I'd like to for the people to know. I know obviously quite a bit, I think, about your past and how you came into these teachings. But if you could share that story with us, how did you get involved in that, and why did you take the time? Not just with me, but I know with many people, where you gave so much time and attention, because this wasn't really. It's not like this was your field. You're a businessman and engineer, and then here you are doing spiritual work. Maybe that's why you were so good, because you had that balance.
Well, it's a question of, like, when I was going through difficult times, um, some people came to help me, and that made a big difference. So it's like anything else in life, something works for us, then we try to share it with other people uh, who come around us. And just part of our own nature. We all do that, actually. There's nothing very unusual about me. And besides, I enjoy doing it anyway.
hmm Well, but you did put that extra time. I mean, you had quite a few students from that time. I'm talking over 20 years ago, that would gather in your home, and I think I know we all benefited from it. And even you traveled quite a bit to Germany. I
Yes.
remember that. And you would, even from there, like if you knew I would having some issues or something, you would call to check up on me from Germany.
Hmm.
And during that time, those were costly calls. It mattered because sometimes we think that there's nobody there for us, or we're trapped in certain situations, and you would call just to say, I'm thinking of you, and I have exciting stories to share. And your stories were very, very interesting. One of them, you turned it into a book, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. It was Conversations in Silence.
Hmm.
Because can you share which were the stories, the most thing that uh, the biggest thing that happened to you in Germany?
Well, it's purely by accident, so to speak.
Yeah, so to speak.
Uh, I was in hospital, and my boss calls me in 1995 that we have an assignment for you in Germany. Would you like it? And having found out about Mother Meera just the previous year, I was excited. I said, sure, I'll be glad to go. So that's how it started. I started traveling on business. I was going like 15, 20 days a month, every month for 3 years. And that's where I met her.
And can you share a little bit about her? Now she's a healer, but she doesn't communicate verbally, just through her eyes.
Yeah, it's
This is a
she
picture
is
of
very
her on
unusual,
your front cover.
very evolved person, and she is a spiritual master. and she is very high up, all the way into Christ consciousness. So the beauty about her, seeing her, is like this book I wrote. I have never physically talked with her. I have never talked with her. She doesn't talk to anybody. And when you go to see her, it's kind of called formal receiving the blessing from her, and it happens through her eyes. So there are about 250 to 300 people in a room, and they sit down. There's no chanting, no meditation, no talking. Nobody asks what your religion is. Nobody asks you for even for donation. People just sit there quietly, and when she comes, they get up, and when it's time to get the blessings, you go in front of her. There's no particular order. There are people coming from 3 different directions. Whenever you think you're ready, you go sit in the line. And when you bow down in front of her, she touches your head and removes the hands. And that's your cue to look into her eyes. She looks into your eyes. By touching her, she customized the blessing just for you. And she has been gifted like this from childhood. And she looks into your eyes for about 10 seconds, and she closes her eyes, and that's it. And things happen. You get up, and you come back to your seat. And I've seen 80-year-old man just cry like a baby just by looking at her. And personally, I've had a whole lot of supernatural experiences after seeing her. And I'm very grateful to her for all the blessings. The other thing, my book is basically all about the notes of everything that happened, because I kept diary of that, a journal of that, and it's just exactly how it happened.
Yes, I read your book when it was first came out, and I was very happy that you published it, because I know that from prior that you mentioned that you were taking notes, you were keeping a diary, and that you wanted to turn that into a book so that you can share it with people and perhaps they could benefit. And I read it, and I did like the style of just really you writing things as they were, not trying to make it so poetic or anything like that, but just really and being very honest about your feelings and your frustrations as you were trying to even meet up with her. It was I found it very interesting that, because you had told me a lot of these stories, but of course not in as much in depth. But in the process, you also go and bring up other teachers that have come along your way,
Yes,
including Mother Lillian too.
Yes. She was my spiritual mother.
Mm-hmm.
She was my spiritual mother, and I would not be where I am without her. She was a big blessing in my life.
And you want to share a little bit? I know you used to tell me a lot about her.
I mean, people told me, because I was having so many problems, my marriage was kind of falling apart at that time. And then, as a result, I had a lot of stress and a lot of burdens in my heart, And that's the time a friend recommended that learn meditation. It'll help you. And I went to learn meditation at a place called Self-Realization Fellowship. It's based on Yogananda Paramahansa's system.
Mm-hmm. And was this in local?
Yes, it was in Detroit at that time. Right now they are in Southfield.
Okay.
So that's where I met this lady. A motherly lady, very nice lady. No, nothing special about her. Well, they come after the service, say hi, give you a hug, and go away. And how I got connected with her is, she said she has no car. Sometimes if she needs a ride, because there's a retreat center up north in Michigan, if you ever go there, do you mind taking me? I said, not a problem. But I didn't know at that time what I was signing up for. She was a very advanced spiritual soul, very powerful. Because after meeting her, I saw many miracles. I experienced a lot of healings through her. And she never admitted to anything. She always said, praise the Lord. Never owned up anything. She was such a humble person. So she changed my life. And also, by setting personal example is the way she lived. That was something to be seen.
And when these people came into your life, do you believe it's because you set some kind of intent? So, say somebody right now is facing a difficult situation and they feel lost and they feel lonely, and they would like to have somebody that's nurturing like that, or provide them with some kind of guidance. I know when you were coming into the video store, because you were a customer from long before that,
Right.
but the conversations started after I felt that need, where I needed some guidance about life and with regards to the spiritual aspect and God. And that's when the conversation started happening little by little. You would draw charts on papers over
Mm-hmm.
there and always gave me something before you
Mm-hmm.
left, something that I can look into or think about. Um, so if a person is looking for that, is it kind of maybe being honest with themselves and putting the intent out there and being patient? What advice would you give? Because especially nowadays with the younger people, even with older people, stress or situations make them just give up, make them hurt themselves, make them turn to substance abuse. Just put themselves and others in very abusive situations. And there has been where people have taken their lives because they can't handle it anymore. What advice would you give people in this type of situation?
My take today is I think what's happening is maybe it's the educational system, it's the society, how people are growing up, especially the younger generation, and even some of us grew up that way, that you have to be independent. And the problem with that is when you try to be independent all by yourself, then you are burdened with the problem of solving all your issues all by yourself. And that's a very burdensome life. And I used to do the same thing. I mean, everybody told me be independent, be self sufficient, and all those things. But there's a limit to those things. Yes, to some extent, we don't want to be dependent on others. That would be not a healthy situation. But we don't have to insist on solving all the problems by yourself, because where is the limit? So you're going to be your own brain surgeon? You're going to replace your own heart? You're going to build your own TV? Why do you buy a shirt? Well, you're going to make your own shirt, or maybe you grow your own yarn, maybe raise your own cotton. Where's the limit to these things? We have to understand that the society relies on expertise. Everybody is an expertise, has some expertise in some different areas. We are all interdependent.
Mm.
And the whole society runs by that model. The business world runs by that model. So it is not a very mature thought to think that I have to solve all my problems by myself. And when people get that mindset, then they are only going to create problem for themselves, and the problem get bigger and deeper. So my suggestion is, and this, by the way, this is the way I used to be also, which later on realized it's not a very mature model. The idea is, look, if you have an issue or something bothering you, try to solve it by yourself. Give yourself a couple of days. After that, ask your friends, ask your family, ask your support system. But make sure you have good quality friends around you who will give you some objective advice. Don't just talk to anybody.
Yeah, use discernment.
Yes, because a lot of times these are private matters,
Mm-hmm.
and so talk to somebody who's trustworthy and who'll keep your confidentiality. And we all need that. And the other most important thing that I find today, that people don't pray and ask God for help, because God is not going to help you or me unless we ask. So it's one of the spiritual laws that you have to ask for help. And if you are suffering in a private moment and you pray, and God, please help me, where are you? He listens to you, and He will inspire somebody else to come in your life and help you. That's the way life is. It works. It's very scientific and reasonable. So what I'm saying is, there is no need to try to solve all problems by yourself all the time. Yeah, you try after a few days. Ask for help, open for help, and start praying. And it works.
And it's interesting that you said earlier about in business, yes, we are encouraged that we don't do everything ourselves. So in order for our business to be successful, you hire an accountant rather than like doing the accounting and the maintenance and the
Exactly.
secretarial work and everything to keep your company on track and to maintain it and to become successful. We are encouraged to hire professionals because then that would take a load off of us, and then the whole system would work better.
Right.
But yet, when it comes to sometimes our personal life or when it comes to other matters, then we say, well, you have to be an independent thinker, you have to be independent this, independent that. So that is, and you even brought that up a minute ago. Yeah, that system works for business. Why can't we use it in our practical
Exactly.
everyday life? And then another thing that you mentioned is about sharing with people. The other tendency is either to just share with anybody, like posting on Facebook an issue that is very private, to
Right.
not saying anything at all. And either way is extreme.
Yes.
So I think what people might not understand, well, some people might not understand about spirituality, and this is why I was able to understand it when you were explaining to me the meditation and God. You used very practical ways. It wasn't just like just getting me to go into another dimension and not think about things. It was the exact opposite. You were helping me be logical while using my heart at the same time and my intuition. And both aspects are equally important.
Yes. That's so true. I mean, isn't it amazing? This is the most amazing thing. Most people are very objective, very disciplined, and catching the problems and solving them early. And if they don't find, they ask for help. They call the IT person. They call somebody, talk to somebody who's
Yeah, they don't
senior
feel
at the work, and
shame to
oh
call.
yeah,
It's like natural. Yeah, you just
exactly.
call.
But when it comes to our own personal issues, something that's bothering you, maybe it's your neighbor, maybe it's your mother-in-law, or maybe you're worried about money. If it bothers you, they just drop the ball. Why don't they use the same system they use at work? It's so simple.
Mm-hmm.
In
But
fact,
we complicate.
I use the same notebook I use for work. All
Mm-hmm.
I did was one section is for business world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to have this meeting, call this
Mm-hmm.
person, call this supplier, do all these things.
Mm-hmm.
I use the upper section I use for my personal things. This is bothering me, or I'm worried about this, like this. Because I noticed the miracle is that notebook, because at business we look at it so many times, we keep looking at it, still the problem is solved. It's a powerful system. So use the same system for solving my problems, personal problems. It
Mm-hmm.
worked.
That works. Yeah.
As long as I put it in the notebook, it
Mm-hmm.
gets done.
Mm-hmm. Well, and again, like I mentioned earlier, meditation was one of the something that I learned from your teachings and the classes that you had. But you also have a video that I'd like to kind of share parts of it with the audience so that they can kind of see a little bit of what you mentioned. I liked how you had the video set up, so I'm gonna play that right now.
Right. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Diane, and we're here today with Narendra, who is a spiritual master teacher and the founder of Spirituality for Results. Thank you for watching.
Hi. Today we're going to talk about meditation. You talk to different people about spiritual practices. These days, meditation is one of the topics that keeps coming up. And of course, some of us have tried meditations, and then some of us struggle with that. So, right in the beginning, I would like to mention something here. The material I have to present is not for the beginners. It's more for advanced seekers, those people who have tried meditation, different techniques and different systems, and so they will benefit the most. And of course, there are always exceptions. So the kind of material we'll get into is how meditations work, why they work, or if they are not working, then where the problems are. So idea here is, so we're dealing with people who are intelligent about their spiritual practices. They are willing to think about what they are trying to do and then make the corrective action and then be able to reap the benefits that some of these advanced spiritual techniques provide. So typically, if you go to learn meditation, they will tell you that, okay, sit on the floor. If you are from East, you have to sit in the lotus position. Then you have, which means your legs have to be crossed on top of each other, and then you got to keep your spine straight, and then you got to focus your attention here or in the heart or top of the head. There are different ways of doing it. I've had the opportunity to get exposure to many different kinds of meditations. So I'm talking here is a critical understanding of what meditation is about. Now, if you come to East here, we know that people in East cannot sit in a lotus position unless you've been doing yoga for some years. Then your body is flexible. So the question is then, can you sit on a chair? Most certainly. But that is also not to say that if you have got some health condition that you cannot sit on a chair, or if you cannot sit in a lotus position, then you cannot do meditation. That's not true. So let us understand some of the very basics of meditation. Most places they just come and tell you that this is how you do it. And after that, it seems like nobody comes back to you and asks you how your meditations are coming along. Or if you're having problems with, say, too many thoughts running through your head and you're not able to concentrate, and then at the same time you hear other people in your own group describing some wonderful experiences, I'm sure it makes you feel kind of strange. Now, personally, I have been through all those stages. Uh, I was a beginner. I had no idea, and how I got into meditation is because I had a lot of stress and a lot of family problems, and my marriage was falling apart, and I used to be highly stressed out. And somebody said, "Go learn meditation, and it might help you." Believe me, it has more than helped me, and I've got a tremendous amount of benefits out of this. So it's a very powerful spiritual technique, of course, depending on religion, they call it by different names. Some call it like quiet moment, silent moment, or some call it visualization, et cetera, et cetera. But that's just another way of looking at the same thing. Just like if you look at water, in different countries and different languages, they call it by different names, but it's still talking about water. So let's talk about what meditation does. So I have a few, as you can see, I have a few toys and props in front of us, and I'm sure you've been wondering about what these things are. They will assist us in getting a full understanding of what meditation is. So let's imagine for a second that this is a human body. And I'm sure all of you who are listening to me do have a human body. So this is the human body. And it's an artistic rendition of human body. As you can see, it's like a person either has a lot of problems or maybe the person is a philosopher. So if you look at it, he or she is sitting like this. And if you can relate to that. So the human body is here. Now let's look at what the human condition is. Typically, we live in a very interesting society with the time crunch, traffic jams, and work pressures, and as far ladies are concerned, they're always taxiing around their children to tennis games or ballets, and so they got a lot of other things on their mind. Plus, we got bad economic conditions. I'm sure it makes you think, geez, what will happen if this happened or that happened? And as you start to get old, now you have different kind of worries. you start to wonder, what if I get sick? What if my children abandon me, if they don't talk to me, etc., etc. There's no limit to these things. So we all have those issues. So let's come back to the demonstration here. This is where your human body is. And imagine for a second, the future is in this direction. That's where the future is. So future is basically trying to scare you. And as you can see, it's a kind of a complex statue, and kind of trying to, you don't know what is trying to scare you or going to cause you a lot of worries. Well, what if I get laid off? What if I get sick? What if my car breaks down in wintertime? Or what if I run out of money when I'm in retirement? Or what if I'm sick, I'm not able to take care of myself? These are all reasonable things that we all go through. What if my child doesn't pass the SAT exam, etc., etc. So, but what are we doing? Look what is happening to us. It's our mind that is worrying about things in the future. It's a mind is thinking of all possibilities. This can happen or that can happen. And then what does it really mean? It's not a good feeling. Unless your future is telling you, wow, I got a great future, I got a new gig and I'm a great musician and I got a new contract, or if you got some discovery made and you're expecting it to win a Nobel Prize, or maybe you got a winning lottery ticket. Most cases, people have reason to worry about things in the future. Sure, positive things bring you joy and hope for future. Okay.
Narendra, can people go on here if they want to find out your events and things like that? Because I know you
Not
do
yet, not
workshop.
yet.
Not yet, but
Yeah.
you're planning to post them. Because we only have a minute left, and so they can. Eventually, you're going to be posting things because I know,
Yes.
like I said, you do workshops nowadays.
Yes.
Also, with regard, your book is available on Amazon.
Yes.
And you have 1 minute left. Do you want to add anything? know.
The meetup, you can go to meetup.com,
Okay, under
and
what?
it's called Register Spirituality / Self Mastery. We meet once a month
Where do you meet?
in Rochester Hills Library.
Library? Oh, okay. So Rochester Spirituality dash Self Mastery, and that's you meet once a month. It's just different time frames depending. Okay, but you'll have it posted
Typically on a Saturday.
typically on a Saturday, but you
At 11
post it
o'clock.
on Facebook. Okay, well, again, I've worked with Narendra for many years, and it really, he was just incredibly helpful with no hidden agendas. And so take advantage of that to become a part of a safe and sacred community. Narendra, thank you so much. I will have you back again, I'm sure. Okay?
you.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.